Popp is out as the general manager of the Montreal Alouettes. Justin, they're calling this a mutual parting of the ways. Are these things ever mutual, or did Jim Popp just get fired?
In this instance, I think that description is fair, Drew, for a few reasons. And atop that list has to be the last few years with the coaching hires that were made, Dan Hawkins and Tom Higgins. And then with Popp coming down out of the booth to coach this team, it seemed like the philosophies were differing between ownership and Popp, which to me makes it fair to categorize it this way.
I think Jim Popp's legacy is going to be measured in two fairly distinct eras, right? We have the early era where they won, 4 Grey Cups as a franchise when he was around. He took full advantage of the Anthony Calvillo era, put good, talented players around him when he needed to. Mark Trestman was an excellent hire as a head coach. Jim Popp certainly deserves a lot of respect for what he accomplished in Montreal. That said, recent history is less kind to Popp. We have the forays into coaching, which were a disaster, frankly, and we have basically an unsuccessful football team. And I think that Jim Popp's reputation in the league suffered in recent years.
It did, but overall it's going to remain high. As you said, Drew, 4 Grey Cups. That franchise went to 10 during his time there. He's the only GM the franchise has ever known. With that said, as you mentioned, in the last couple of years, and in particular this year, it seemed like there were a couple factors in his undoing. Obviously, when he was let go of the head coaching duties, and then when Duron Carter and Kenny Stafford were released, which were guys that Popp signed and was adamant about keeping on the roster, that signaled a power shift.
Also, I think Jim Popp's reputation with players has been damaged over the last couple of years, right? I think that he was a guy that became known as someone who asked players to take pay cuts, renegotiated contracts behind the scenes. Montreal was no longer a destination for players. It was a place that you had to be aware of what was potentially going to happen going in. Now, with Popp no longer in the picture, Justin, who is the front runner? You and I have been talking about, we wrote about it on the weekend, the potential of Danny Maciocia being the leading candidate there. Do you still think that Maciocia could be the man in Montreal?
Certainly. I'll categorize it this way. If we're running a 100-meter race in terms of who's going to get that Alouettes GM job, Danny Maciocia is Usain Bolt. He's way out in front. He's the lead favorite. Yes, he's still coaching at the University of Montreal. They have a great chance to win yet another Vanier Cup this year, and he's not going to leave that program high and dry until the season's done. But the odds-on guy to get that job is Danny Maciocia.
What about you? Are you available as general manager in Montreal?
I can't speak French, ne parle français, so I don't think that would go over too well.
Un bière froid, s'il vous plaît. That's all I know.